Greetings people! In this video I wanted to share my experience so far with publishing 2 videos, what I've learned and the challenges I've faced. The first video that I published was on the topic of creating my first home studio. My ambition went a little over my abilities with that one. Instead of starting with something small and manageable, I decided to take on a huge project which pushed me to my limits in multiple areas of expertise, from video to sound to post-production. It was basically my first time doing everything. I was thinking of starting my own YouTube channel sometime in August of 2020. At that time I just passed the 3rd movement of Vivaldi's Concerto in A minor, and so I was planning to record the full movement over Christmas break. So later in November, I started doing research on all the gear that I needed for a home studio. And it wasn't just the video aspect of a home studio, but also the sound or music aspect as well. I was looking at various tutorials that dealt with just the video side of things, and then also the sound and music side of things as well. And with that information, I was able to kind of put together what I wanted for my home studio and what worked for me. After making a list of all the different gear that I needed, I started to dig deeper into which product would work best for me. And after receiving them, I had to get familiar with the gear and learn how to put them all together. I thought it would be pretty neat to create a video on how a person with limited experience in sound and video builds his first home studio. You would often see people with experience talk about creating their dream studio or presenting ideas for newbies like myself on how to create a budget home studio, which I do appreciate, and that's where I've learned a lot of tips and helpful information. However, you won't find much of these kind of videos from people who are just starting out. So instead of presenting from a position of abundance, I was presenting from a position of desolation as a voice crying out in the wilderness, just kind of showing that it is possible to start if you're willing to put in the work and effort. The video is less about information and more about encouraging others who are planning to start something similar, and it also gives a good rundown of all the gear that I'm using for my videos for those who are wondering. So moving forward to December, I was planning to do all the recording on the 23rd, but of course things didn't really work out, so I ended up recording all day on the 25th. I'll admit that I had to put out every ounce of effort into recording, and it was the longest time I've ever talked to a device. At the end of the day, my legs were exhausted from standing around all day, and my mind was fatigued on just focusing on the work and just trying to make this video thing happen. I was just glad that I was done recording, and I thought it was downhill from here, which it wasn't. I spent over 40 hours the following week in post-production, which was a combination of editing and looking at tutorials about certain things that I wanted to achieve in Premiere Pro. One of the biggest mistakes I made in recording the video was the sound. I didn't know that the Wireless Go had an audio level adjustment, so mine was set to high out of the box, and so it just made the audio peak and just sound too harsh. Another thing that I learned is that window lighting is a bad idea. It's too dynamic, too unpredictable, which resulted in extended color editing throughout all the clips. And just imagine going through 20 minutes of video and just color editing each one of them separately. It was pretty bad. Blocking light from the window and using controlled lighting is something that I now prefer and recommend, just for the sake of saving time in post-production. Also, Nigel's video, How to Make a $300 Camera Look Pro, helped me to improve my footage going forward. The key ideas was to set the ISO of the camera all the way down and use controlled lighting on the subject and the background. So I did invest into a little RGB light just to kind of give some interesting background color. So now I'm slowly making my $700 camera look pro. I just need to invest into more lighting. I know that in my video I was saying that I wasn't get too crazy into lighting, but it requires a little bit of craziness into lighting. Going through this whole experience really helped me to appreciate the videos that other channels put out, because I now understand what it takes to make a good video. I mean, just the lighting, the setup, and everything. It takes time to make this happen. However, I'm glad I'm done with that video project and I can move on to something else, which leads me to my second video that I published, where I played the Vivaldi's Concerto in A minor. Not on Christmas break, but on Martin Luther King's 3-day weekend. Now, I have been polishing out the concerto a few months prior to recording, and I did improve on a lot of the technique on playing the violin. However, when it came down to it, the pressure of recording really threw me off, and I kept on stumbling without recovery at least once throughout the full movement. I recorded on Saturday, didn't get any good runs. I tried again on Sunday, again, didn't get any good runs, and I was starting to feel very discouraged and disappointed. I ended that day with tears in my eyes, and I softly said to myself as I was packing away my violin, I'll try again tomorrow. So on Monday morning the next day, I rehearsed all of the sections where I had difficulty, and I just started recording. And I kept in mind that whatever happens, just continue playing. And after sighing from relief at the end of playing that full movement, I said, that's it, no more. Coming to the end of the third movement, my mind was just going wild and was getting out of focus. And I was afraid that I was going to stumble, kind of like the first place runners that stumble right before the finish line and are not first place anymore. Yeah, my subconscious mind pulled me through that last part. Now, here's the big problem that I came across when editing. I played the concerto while listening to the Suzuki track, and I was hoping to find the same track minus the violin to use as an accompaniment for the video. However, there wasn't anything that fit, so I asked my violin teacher, Chad, if he had any tracks with just the piano part. He actually offered to create an accompaniment, and he gave me the choice between piano or harpsichord. And if you watch my video, you know what I chose for the accompaniment. The problem was that since the Suzuki tracks were live recordings, there were a lot of tempo changes in the tracks. So I told Chad to do his best to get close to those tempos, and then I would fine-tune the accompaniment to how I need it to be in the video. Never again am I going to do that to myself or to others, because adjusting the tempo to match my recording is such tedious work, and it took me several hours just to get everything perfect. But now that I know that Chad can create amazing music pieces, I'll be sure to order the next accompaniments before doing the recording and doing the actual recording with that accompaniment. So, lesson learned, play to the accompaniment that you'll be using in your video. That way it just makes things easier. That's all I have for this video. I hope you found it helpful and encouraging. If so, go ahead, give this video a thumbs up. If not, hit that thumbs down button twice and leave a comment on any improvements that I can make in future videos.